broadcaster, people think, especially a hockey broadcaster, people think hockey has to be the hardest sport to broadcast, and I disagree. It's the most fun, I think, because there's the most stuff going on throughout a game, but I think of baseball as being the hardest in terms of action, and baseball's 3+ hours, maybe a little less now, pace of play, but, here's the 2-1 pitch outside, and then you're telling a story for 30 seconds until the pitcher decides he wants to throw another pitch. So those guys, I think, have the hardest jobs in sports, or maybe even broadcasting. But I'm just very lucky to be able to do what I do. For me, I was a kid who was obsessed with sports and wanted to be a broadcaster since I was 7 or 8 years old.
And this is where we do this moment where like the curtains come down. We're gonna go back in time.
Okay.
To what? Like the 1980 when you were born?
I was born in 1994.
Last time United won the Super Bowl. It's a good year.
I was playing street hockey in 1994, believe it or not, on the mean streets, suburbs of Los Angeles, because a guy named Wayne Gretzky was making hockey crazy in Southern California. But hold on, it's not about me, it's about you. So, you were born on a hockey rink, your mother was a goalie?
Incorrect. So I'm from New York, I'm from Long Island, and I was born in '94. I went to a New York Islanders game, I think when I was 3 or 4 years old, and I grew up 10 minutes away from where the New York Islanders played at Nassau Coliseum, which is a really special, old school style hockey rink. It's just, seats and the ice. There's no clubs, there's no anything like that, and it was really...
So it couldn't have been you were 0 in 94, so it couldn't have been that year. So what year?
It was probably 98.
98.
or 99.
So mom and dad hardcore hockey fans?
Not really. My dad is a huge sports fan, still is. My dad, he has season tickets to all the losing teams in New York. Grew up Mets, Jets, Islanders, and we didn't even get into basketball because that would have been way too much dealing with Knicks too. But I grew up going to a hockey game for the first time, and something just drew me to it. I think it was just the action, just being that close to it, seeing something so different at a young age that I kind of, started talking about hockey a lot. And my dad decided to get season tickets to the Islanders, so we went all the time. And being 15 minutes from my house, I was able to go all the time, especially on school nights because I was home before 10 p.m. So that made it easy to go to, and the Islanders were not very good when I was younger, so that made it a lot more affordable to go to.
Okay, so the 4 or 5 year old you,
Yeah.
But did he play hockey?
He wanted to. He never did. Street hockey and stuff with my friends, and basement knee hockey and all that stuff. Played a lot of video games. Still do. I'm not ashamed about that because there's something that's tied into this. So I started playing the hockey video games when I was young, and I figured out that you could mute the announcers and call the game yourself, just to yourself. And little did I know that would be, fast forward to now, that's what I do for a living.
All right, so I gotta slow you down because during
I go too fast. Slow me down.
You're good, but we do a little pre-interview, and one of the most amazing things is what you just touched on, this idea that you would figure out that you could mute sporting events, hockey in particular, and then what would you do? Now it's muted.
I would call the game.
You would call, and how old were you doing this?
I probably started doing it when I was 7, I think. 7 or.
I think when I was 7, I wasn't even aware there was someone talking during the game. Like I was just watching the screen or whatever, right? So what made you even aware of the announcer?
So it goes back to my dad. So my dad was a minor league baseball broadcaster in the mid '80s for AA team, the Albany Colony Yankees and the Albany Colony A's.
How many fans do we have here?
Yeah, Albany fans. But so growing up watching sports with my dad, it wasn't really watch this guy play. It wasn't watch this guy throw a touchdown, watch how he pitches, or how this guy will hit a baseball. It's listen to this broadcaster call a game. Let's watch Fox NFL Sunday because so and so is the play-by-play broadcaster. So when I was younger, that's kind of how I grew up. So I was always kind of drawn to that. And I was like, oh, that's a pretty cool job. And you're a kid, you're using your imagination, the street with your friends, you're playing wiffle ball and you're announcing it to yourself and you're annoying the crap out of your friends with it. But yeah, I would just sit in my room, play video games, mute it, and you know, I wouldn't even play. I would do like computer versus computer and just call the game. And yeah, it's cool when it works out to be your job after that.
Yeah, it's good now. Because I am a video game freak,
Yeah.
if you will, and I can't imagine doing that at all. And like that's one of the things when we were talking in the pre-interview, most of these things that you talked about going to the hockey games. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so you know, going back to going to Islanders games when I was younger, they weren't well attended. So my good buddy, still to this day, one of my best friends, Tom, we would go to the upper deck and we would get a voice recorder and call the games as a joke to ourselves. Like I'd put on a fake broadcasting voice and talk like this and imitate all the people that I've heard over the years. And
Howard comes down.
yeah, and Tom would just rip into the team the entire time. But again, little did I know that doing that, and we like get the game notes from like the PR staff, and you know they had a table with all like the stats, and we would just have it in front of us, and we would just do it. And again, being younger and doing all that sets me up for success later in life. But again, it was just me fooling around with my friend at the sporting event. So that was unique, I guess.
Has anyone ever heard of anybody doing something like this? I haven't either. That's why I asked that question. I literally, this was one of the most like perplexing things. I'm a real estate lawyer today. I don't remember like reenacting great moments in the law or anything like that.
You weren't in your bedroom, just
Like, you know, I wonder how I would sign the Constitution. Like, no, never.
Well, put yourself in that room and just, you know, act it up.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the hockey announcing thing might be a little cooler maybe for that purpose. But, so okay, so now we have this 8-year-old that's talking to himself in a voice recorder in the top of the hockey rink, right? Having imaginary friends go to war, computer versus computer, video games, where then you're being the play-by-play announcer. Is your father supportive of these shenanigans?
Yeah,
himself?
absolutely. And I think like there were times when we'd go to baseball games and we would like do kind of the same thing. He would like do it, and I would chime in on, you know, just killing time. Like that's how it was, and that's what our relationship was like, still is. Like, you know, very supportive, very supportive.
That's great. So then, as you get older, this broadcasting thing, I mean, I know how the story ends, right? That's how we hear it. How does it continue? So you have this kind of, it's cute when you're like an 8, 9-year-old.
It is cute when you're 8 and 9.
But then as you get a little older, you're like a weirdo, maybe.
Yeah, no, still a weirdo, I think. But yeah, it just kind of like, it's something that I knew, like, I didn't know if I was good at it, but I knew I had a lot of fun doing it, and I knew that there were jobs one day that people do where that is their job. And I was not a good student in school. I kind of fixated on the fact that, yeah, I'll work and hopefully it all pans out one day. Do the bare minimum.
You were still in New York, right? In high school age? So you weren't closing your eyes dreaming of a Palm Springs hockey team?
No.
You're like, I need a hockey team because I'm an announcer and I need sunshine. How about Palm Springs?
No.
Maybe one day.
No, I was used to the cold. I'm still a fan of winter. I like this winter a lot more than the winter.
What is this winter you speak of?
You wouldn't know about it. They're at the top of the mountains. I don't know if you see some white stuff up there, but yeah. So I just knew that there was a path to doing this somehow, and I was just kind of blissfully ignorant to the fact of how it would happen.
Does your high school have a hockey team?
No, they did. So it wasn't technically affiliated with the high school because the high school did not want to take on the insurance of having a hockey team.
So kind of like a club team or like an after school?
Yeah, I was like paid to play a hockey team, and
were you on this team?
I was not.
Were you the announcer for this team?
So let's go back to high school here for a second. This is like the saving grace for me in high school.
What year is this, by the way?
So my junior year of high school was 2011. It ended in 2011.
No, go ahead.
Okay. MSG Network is the big TV station in the New York area that broadcasts broadcasts the Islanders, the Devils, the Rangers, all of those teams, the Knicks even too. So they decided they wanted to have high school coverage of Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, tri-state area. So they instilled putting the work on the kids who go to the school. So my junior year, they started a broadcasting class in high school. And I was like, this might get me into college, maybe. So I signed up for the class, and basically what it was is we made content for MSG Varsity, is what they called it. We did sports reports, we did game recaps, we did little stuff like that, and it was little did I know, it's like you're basically working at that point. You're making your own stuff, and you're producing it yourself, and you're sending it out and putting it on websites and getting some coverage that way. So my friend Tom and I, who we called games when we were 10, 11, whatever years old, he was in the class too, and we wanted to call a high school hockey game. So we reached out to MSG and said, hey, is there any way that you guys would like us to do this? And they're like, no. So we said, okay, what if we did it ourselves? And they're like, sure, whatever you guys want to do, like just keep us out of it. So then we had to contact the rink and be like, hey, we want to do this, we want to set this up, and we want to, put a camera here or whatever. And they're like, no. And I don't know why they said no to us anyway. So we just kept at it for probably 7 or 8 months. And as an annoying kid in high school, just peppering emails out to the same people. Can we please do this? Like, we'll have this set up, no problem. And then finally, I think MSG just wanted us to get out of their hair. And they said, fine, you guys can do this. We'll give you a camera for it. We'll give you a little producer for it. We'll give you headsets. You guys do it, and then basically, like, F off. That's kind of what it was. So we did it, and we prepped it like it was going to be a prime time game on national station. We talked to the coaching staff about the players. We talked about this and that. We had an open, like on camera, where I was freezing in the 25-degree rink, and I was still very pale and had a pretty thick Long Island accent at the time. We did it. We got through it, we edited the whole thing, and then we sent it in to MSG Varsity, and they responded and said, this was actually good. So we're going to put it on TV. So we're like, oh, okay, that was cool. And once that happened, that was kind of like am I like decent enough at this where I can like actually try to do this for a living? So from then on, MSG Varsity let me do a couple other games. I did a lacrosse game, I did a baseball game, a couple of softball games. I was still in high school. I was junior and senior year in high school, and then I ended up being the public address announcer for the basketball team at the high school, football team. So I just started to do more work in stuff I wanted to do, which I think really propelled me to want to be more successful and kind of get something a little bit more out of life, I guess, other than just this is your school work and this is what you have to do.
So at the high school point, you're doing all of the sports, it sounds like hockey, baseball,
Yeah.
football. Are you doing like hosting pep rallies, like everything?
Yeah, I was kind of
Reading announcements in the morning? Like, are you the voice of whatever?
I was not a morning enough person to do that, but no, like anytime there was like a sporting event at the school, I was involved somehow. They reached out to me and let me do it, which was cool, and it's kind of what I was known for in school, which is odd to kind of keep up that way. But again, like little did I know that was reps for me to do it in real life. So it was unique for sure, but it was also a ton of fun.
So you put together the sizzle reel. I've been on television, full ride scholarship too.
My dad wishes it before. So I didn't get into any of the schools that I wanted to get into at high school. Again, my grades were not very good. I only cared about wanting to be a sports broadcaster at that point. So I did 1 year at Nassau Community College. Go Lions. And it's funny, they had a great radio station there. So I ended up volunteering. I was like, I want to be a part of this. I want to host a radio show. And I hosted a sports show. And within 2 months, I was the sports director of the radio station because the person left. And they're like, you can do it. And I'm like, sure, I'll do it. So that was fun. I did some play-by-play for some of their sports. And So, on Long Island especially, there's a lot of people you go to high school with that are like, you're not gonna, not really amount to a lot, but like there's kids like who are kind of maybe some trouble in high school, and a lot of them go to Nassau Community College. And so I got to reunite with a bunch of people that maybe were the best. And I think that inspired me that I could do maybe a little more than just this. So I got my grades up. I got my grades good enough to the point where I got into Bowling Green State University in Northwest Ohio, go Falcons. And I wanted to go to a school that had Division I sports, not because I'm playing them for any means, but I wanted to go to a school that was hockey oriented, which they were, and they had an unbelievable sports broadcasting program. In high school, like the big sports broadcasting school is Syracuse, and people will tell you that. People don't tell you it's a private school, so you're spending a lot of money to go there. And there's so many people at Syracuse. This is not a knock to Syracuse in any way, because Syracuse provided so much to so many of my friends who were in broadcasting, and they love it. But there's so many people going for the same thing when you're in school that you don't get on the air until you're a junior or senior. Bowling Green, I got on the air as a freshman. And I was able to do, I covered the team right away. I wrote on the website. I kind of just did whatever to get involved. And then after my freshman year, the broadcaster for hockey, that position was a student position. And it opened, and I got it, luckily, and paid me $50 a game, which I was happy about.
When you say you got it, was there like multiple people trying out?
Yes.
Application process?
Yeah, so there's about 3 or 4 of us.
Okay.
And
people you knew, I assume.
yeah, like my friends, because we have a radio sports organization, and that's where we applied from. And the athletics department picked the person, and it was me. I got to travel with the hockey team. I got to call hockey games, and that was like, okay, well, this is what I want my job to be.
Bowling Green away schools include the following destinations.
Oh, so it was the good old Western League Hockey Association. So, any Ferris State alumni in the house? Well, it's Ferris State, Michigan Tech, Northern Michigan, Alaska Fairbanks, Alaska Anchorage. So I got to go to Alaska 5 times in 3 years, which was cool. I was actually upset because the one time in Fairbanks, they're like, yeah, the Northern Lights are going to be there tonight. We're going to give everyone a wake-up call if you want it. I signed up, but they never called me. Did you guys see the Northern Lights last night? I said, no. They were cool. But, yeah, so I got to see a lot of the Midwest and a lot of places that I never thought I'd be able to go to.
And so the passion for hockey and broadcasting just continues to grow.
Yep.
And then you graduate from Bowling Green.
Yep, I graduated.
And the Firebirds call?
No, there's a step between. So
Firebirds aren't even around yet.
No, this
was not even born. If you
this was 2017 when I graduated college. It should have been 2016, and my dad's like, yes, it should have been 2016. Anyway, I was just looking for things to do after college, and I was kind of open for anything, right? I wanted to be in hockey, I wanted to be in somewhat broadcasting, so I saw an internship open up for the Rockford Ice Hogs in the American Hockey League. And luckily the broadcaster there was a Bowling Green graduate. And by the way, Bowling Green, a lot of people have not heard of Bowling Green, and that's okay. It's a big hockey school. Dan Bilesman went to Bowling Green State University, now head coach at Season.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, he led Firebirds to back-to-back championships. So we bonded over Bowling Green. And a lot of other broadcasters have come from there too. So I applied for that job, and the broadcaster in Rockford was a Bowling Green guy. So he hired me, and it was going to be like a multimedia digital job, which in minor league sports, you're wearing more than one hat. I'm not just a broadcaster. Right now, I'm the director of broadcasting and communications, so there's a lot of other things that I do other than just call a game. And I knew at the minor league level, you wear plenty of other hats. So I was like, let me try to get into the digital thing where I can make some videos, produce some content, and do some stuff just to make myself, more versatile.
So this is like a first job out of college.
Yes.
And what was the pay?
There was no pay.
There was no pay.
This is Rockford, Illinois, and they were going to set me up in an apartment with the 2 other interns. So this was late August of 2017, packing my car.
Hold on, I want to ask you a couple questions about the broadcasting thing.
Yeah.
If you let's say I want to be a baseball broadcaster, but there's no baseball minor league availability, do I go to other sports or do I stay in the baseball universe? Like, are you competing against all the people that want to be sports broadcasters for these positions, or only people who have a desire to be hockey sports broadcasters?
You're a big competition to hockey broadcasters. There's going to be broadcasters who want to get their toe into hockey, and sometimes they think they can do that just by applying to the job. Like, I can get. Now, I've done this for X amount of years, but it all comes down to what teams are looking for. Networking is huge. I think just keeping your circle pretty big, and hockey is a small community of people. People know people, and I think going to Bowling Green helps too, because it helps grow my network. But that's how I got the opportunity to intern with Rockforders, because I knew Bob Mills, who was the broadcaster there.
And so how long did you stay in this internship?
I didn't even go to the internship. So here's the story of that. So my dad and I were packing the car to go to Rockford, which is about probably a 12, 13-hour drive. That week, the job in the ECHL opens up with the Adirondack Thunder, and hockey jobs kind of open broadcasting-wise when other people move. So it was the same year that the Vegas Golden Knights came to the NHL, so they had to hire a broadcaster, which they did. They hired a guy who was in Syracuse working for the Crunchy AHL. So the guy who was working at Adirondack got the Syracuse job, and last week of August, it opened up a position. So I applied for it. I called basically everyone I knew. I said, who do you know here? And I ended up getting an interview. And they wanted to turn this around quick. So I drove up, I think 2 days later, I drove up to Glens Falls, New York, which is about 3.5 hours from me. I did the interview. I thought I bombed. I hated it. It was my first actual job interview. And
With pay.
With pay.
With pay.
With pay, which is big.
Huge.
But again, as like coming out of college where I got paid $15 a day in college. Which that's awesome.
Yeah, in college money, that's a lot.
Bar tab, that's groceries. I was so happy with that. So if I saw a number that had more than 3 digits in it, I was like, I'm in. So I interviewed for this job, and I thought I bombed the interview. I was sweating the entire time. And, this is a Wednesday. I was leaving for Rockford on Friday, and they told me, all right, we'll let you know by Friday if you get the job. So I'm like, okay, this should be fun. I did not hear by Friday, so my dad and I drove from New York to Chicago. We went to New York to Bowling Green, actually. I saw some friends that weekend, and drove the next day. I met my friend in Chicago for lunch. Went to Lou Malnati's, because you have to go get some deep dish pizza in Chicago. So I'm literally texting the landlord, saying, hey, we're about to go pick up our keys. The day before, another intern that I was supposed to live with for free bailed to get another job. So it was me and this other kid, and we're talking about what cable plan we're going to get or something. So we're going to have to dish out our own money for. And I got a call on a Saturday afternoon from President Adirondack, Jeff Mead, and he offered me the job, which was cool. I did not expect it because it was not a business day, so I was like, I'll probably deal with this on Monday. So my dad and I were right past O'Hare, and we turned around. So we came all the way back to New York with the car full, and I started the week after. So that was.
And so what was that experience like? Take me back to maybe calling your first ECHL game.
So I had a very specific way, I still do a very specific way of how I do my notes and all my prep work for a game. And I figured, I'm getting paid for hockey now. I should prep exactly how most pro hockey broadcasters do it. They make this extravagant lie, spotting chart, all this stuff. So I try to merge together everything I saw on Twitter of people posting their prep sheets. Bad idea. Because we started the game, I did all this work, and I couldn't find anything I was looking for in this chaos on the folder. And I was way in over my head. I stunk. I was so bad. But after that game, I went back to the normal way that I would prep for a game, and it just took me a little bit, and I got it.
When you say you stunk, it's because you felt you stunk. It's not like you had people telling you.
No, I was probably fine, but I knew from my own performance, I could have been better.
Okay, so you go back to the apartment, right, or wherever you're living.
Yeah.
And how do you then prep for game 2? Do you like stare in the mirror?
No, I threw out exactly what I was using, and I went back to my old way of prepping for a game where I get kind of specific into line charts and all this stuff, and I just did it that way, and it made it more comfortable for me. And the more I was comfortable with the way I prepared for a game, the more comfortable I'm going to be calling the game. So that was the way I did it, and I slowly got better. And I think luckily we went pretty far that season too. It was the conference final, and I think just keep like doing games over and over again. The more reps you get at it, the better you get. And I think I called about 85 games that year. So that was a good experience.
When you walk into like a sports bar now and there's a hockey game on, but there's no audio, does your mind automatically be like, defenseman to the left, right, shoot, scores! Like in your mind, or is it just still a normal?
No.
You're just watching hockey.
It's normal watching hockey.
So you can turn it off.
Yeah, absolutely. I turn it off most of the times. It's like I'll watch a game and I won't critique a broadcaster, but I'll be like, oh, that's an interesting way of how they phrased it, or I'll pick up some new stuff listening. But watching it, I think I just watch sports.
You just mute it ever? Like the
No.
opposite? Like this guy, what is he doing?
No, because I mean, as a broadcaster, I don't want to turn off another broadcaster because they work hard. Like they're hardworking people, and
I want to turn off other lawyers, so I just thought.
exactly. You don't have to watch other lawyers.
Oh, no, I do. Like when it's their turn to go, I'm like, oh god.
Put your AirPods in and put on a podcast.
I'll try to let you know how it goes. Next court here, like, oh, excuse me, Robert. Okay, so it seems like all through this journey, there's kind of been a real direct kind of like laser focus on the desire to be a hockey broadcaster, and now you're doing it in the ECHL. Is the moment you get there, like, so once you get comfortable, like once you've done a few games, when does it become I want to do it for the AHL, I want to do it for the NHL? Like how quickly do you start to feel like, this is only the minor league, I need to be in the major leagues?
Yeah, I mean, I think my first year I was like, I could do this in the NHL. I applied for a job open in the AHL after my first year, and I interviewed, and they basically told me like,
it wasn't the rain, right?
It was not the rain.
Gotta make sure.
It was not the rain. But a job opened, and they basically told me like, we interviewed you because we know like it was a local team, so they were like, we interviewed you kind of just like to basically get your experience up, which was great. I appreciated that at the time. I don't think I appreciated it as much as I did fast forward a few years after that. And he's like, yeah, you're too young, you need more experience, and which is great. And I'm like, no, I want that job. Whatever. So I was there for 5 years total.
Put the years on it. Put the years. When
2017 to 2022.
Yeah.
5 years. One of those years was the COVID year, so we didn't play games at all. I was furloughed that entire year. A lot of uncertainty, but it ended up working out. But that last year in the ECHL, the year after, it was 21-22, we were the worst team in the league. Like, bad. I think we lost like 16 straight games. Yeah. So it's a little hard as the only guy on the broadcast to try to like make it positive. We have our heads way below the water here, but come to the game Friday night. Because it won't be the same. It was. But I think I used that year because I think we were eliminated in the playoffs like end of December. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to use this year and just focus and get myself to the best version that I could be. And I was there for 5 years, and I saw a lot of my good friends get jobs in the AHL and move up. A lot of my friends also left the industry. It's not, by far, it is not an easy industry to work in. The hours are insane. You're on the bus traveling overnight, city to city. You don't get holidays. You get time off a little bit in the summer, but you're just prepping for the next season basically in the summer. So it's a grind, and especially in the lower minor league levels where you don't have. I remember in the ECHL after games, guys used to put cash in a cup, and we ordered off like a pizza place menu, and that was like the post-game meal. and everyone looked forward to that. And it's just like, that's kind of the lifestyle it was. I remember just having to pick up the cup with guys never like had exact change. So we just gave the pizza guy, like a cup of cash. And here you go. So that's how it was in kind of ECHL and the lower. So it's not for everybody. So I knew I wanted to make myself the best version of myself that last year. I reached out to a ton of other broadcasters, NHL broadcasters, AHL broadcasters. Hey, can you listen to my tape? Can you critique me? The more ears on it, the better. Like, when I was in school, I was on the board for our radio sports organization, and freshman kids would come in all the time, and they would do a game that weekend, and I said, hey, do you want me to listen to your game? No, I was good. Dude, I was like, all right, well, there are times still now where I'll say something like, I just get mad at myself. Why did I say that? Or how did I word it that way? I've been doing it for 9 years. And these kids would be like, no, I'm good. You don't need to listen to it. I did a really good job. My dad said it was good. Sure, so I've always been a part of it's a front-facing position where people are going to openly critique you, whether they know about how to do the job or not. So you might as well have people who know how to do the job reach out to you and talk to you about, hey, you can do this a little better. They're not going to tell you stink to your face. They'll say it nicely, but they're not going to tell it directly. But I just took that year and made as many contacts as I can, and as I could, and reached out. I got a lot of great feedback from people in the industry. Just work on this, say this a little bit less. Like, one of the big things that I learned was from Joe Bettinati, the Washington Capitals on TV. He's like, so I used to be like pretty gloom when the other team scored. Like, should they score 2-1 Ontario, right? Like, there was no inflection change in my voice. And he's like, it's not, people don't gather around the radio anymore. It's not the TV anymore. So people are doing other things when they're listening to the game. Some people, they're cooking dinner and this and that. They want to know what's going on in the game. So if you just say, yeah, they scored, it's 2-1, and something, make it sound like the worst thing in the world. Oh, they score, it's 2-1. Like, that's more of an inflection than not saying it at all. So that was a big thing. I was like, you're right. People want to hear that. And he's like, you're not saying the time and score enough. Write down 60. Write down like 1 to 60. And every time you say the score, cross off a number. If you're not at least 50 in the third period, or midway through the third period, you didn't say it enough. So there's times like that, and then there's like vocabulary words. Like, I try to fix in a lot of times because you don't really want to say the same things over and over again. So that year, I was just basically working hard to make myself the best I could be.
And so how does it, again, just break it down for people so they understand how the Firebirds even get on your radar in upstate New York.
So as a minor league sports broadcaster, I'm kind of in tune with what jobs will be opening. So the Seattle Kraken come into play, and
See, this is the key. You don't wait for like a Coachella Valley Firebirds announcement. No. It's the Kraken are coming.
Yes.
And so if the Kraken are coming, it's implied that's what's going to happen.
Correct, because you knew that there's going to be an AHL team somewhere.
Well, not that we knew, you knew. That's the point.
Yeah.
That's the genius of
Yes.
this. Is that when the Kraken come into formation.
Yeah, I knew in my head that they're going to have an AHL team, and that AHL team hopefully would have the broadcast. And maybe I could do that. And that was like 2019 when they were announced, and then they first played in 2021. So I was like, okay, well that job's going to open at some point. And then once the Kraken played and started to get their stuff in order for an AHL team, it was kind of those, I reached out to everyone I knew and hoped for the best. It's funny how small the hockey world is. So we had a player on our team in ECHL who played junior hockey with Troy Bodie, who's our VP of hockey operations. So he sent an email and told me to email him, and I was just reaching out to everyone I could. And this is like November of 2021. It's like, hey, I know it's not on the front of your list of things that you want to think about, but if you need to hire a broadcaster at some point. I would love to have the conversation. So
Because I've been to the Coachella Valley many times.
I was like,
I'm very familiar with
I was
it.
like, I know nothing about where it is or anything
I
like
mean, at
that.
that point, there's not even a Coachella Valley.
No,
It's just
it was-
wherever your AHL team is
At that
going to
point,
be.
I think it was just announced it was AHL. It was going to be AHL Palm Springs at that point. That was the point where it was
And
at.
you've been here how many times?
0.
And you knew what about Palm Springs?
The trees.
Like palm trees.
Palm trees. Yeah.
So nothing.
No, I knew nothing. I'm an East Coast guy. I've been to San Diego.
Coconuts in the palm trees?
Hey, who knows?
What grows in palm trees here, you know? Dates.
I didn't know that.
No, look, I'm not, it's not really a quiz as much as it feels like one. It's just the idea.
No, I
Back then, I'm just imagining
No,
Palm
I-
Springs, California. You're like, okay, Google Palm Springs, California. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's what I did. I tried to learn. Like, I knew the festival.
Oh, Coachella,
Yeah,
of course.
that.
Dude, of course. Duh.
So it was one of those things where like I just tried to.
Wait, hold on. When you heard Palm Springs, you immediately knew the Coachella Music Festival was in this area, or did at some point you
So
like
it was
hear it?
it was AHL Palm Springs, and then I think right before I started emailing about it, it was announced that it was going to be Coachella Valley.
Because the desert likes to like claim that we have some profile in New York, and we run ads over there, and people fly over here. I don't know if you heard we have direct flights to JFK starting the season. We love to like have this perception that everyone in New York's like dreaming of the warm weather in Palm Springs. And then we, the Kelly and the show that was just here, right? Like, Morning with Kelly and her husband. I'm sorry, I forgot his name. Mark.
Yeah.
Then they come, and it's like, we love Palm
No,
Springs.
the
So it's
East-
exciting. The East Coast is just
The New York thing to
foaming at the
do.
mouth to get here.
No, the New Yorkers enjoy Florida. That's their humidity.
Silly New Yorkers.
Yeah. So that's like the big thing. Florida's the big thing.
So when's your first trip to the Coachella Valley? It's got to be what, April, January? You want to show off the weather, a beautiful time. When's your first trip to the Coachella
It
Valley?
wasn't until after I was hired.
No, but say it with me. What month do you think was his first?
August. Yeah.
August. What is August?
Yeah, August.
I know. I don't know why, but I feel like everybody moves here in August. I moved here in August. I don't know what the deal is with that.
I had to unload my pod in 125 degree weather. That's fun.
A cool August day.
Yeah, great.
And then at any point did you think to yourself, like, how are they going to play hockey here? Like, what am I doing here?
It was funny because like when I got hired in August or July of 2022, obviously the arena wasn't close to being done yet. There was still 5 months out from that. They kind of had the idea like this is what it's going to be like. Like they had the model. I don't know if anyone ever went to the office that we had on Cook Street. When you came to see the ticket member, you went to the office on Cook Street, and they had the model of the arena, which I think they still do. I know we had it in the arena. We had it at the team store on El Paseo too, and I was like, this is what it's going to look like. So you didn't really have like an idea. And the team started on the road. We lived in Seattle for a month and a half, and we just heard about what's happening in the Coachella Valley. And our ticket sales were doing so well. Everyone's so excited, and we're kind of just dealing with the rain up in Seattle for the 47 nights or whatever it was. I was at the Hampton Inn Northgate, which gave me platinum status, diamond status, which I no longer have. But it was fun. But yeah, I didn't really know a lot about it, and when I first got here, I was like, okay, well, actually the first event I ever did as a Firebirds employee was here for Fuego's unveiling, announcing Fuego for the very first time. That was before I even moved. It was a week before I moved. I came out and did that, and that was a lot of fun. And just to see like the excitement of people in the area, like the fans that came out to that, I was like, this is going to be a pretty cool thing. Like the media coverage we're getting, like this is special. So I knew it was going to be really cool and really unique, and I knew the people who were in charge of it were. This is not going to be something they drew to the back order. This is going to be a big important project for everyone involved, and everyone wanted it to succeed. The Kraken wanted to make a successful hockey team because that's how you build a fan base, is by winning hockey games. And I knew that they were going to be all in on this operation, and they have it, and it's been great.
So I'm going to open it up for other people's questions, but I have a couple of my own. How are you enjoying the Coachella Valley? Do you like it here? I know you probably missed the seasons. We only kind of have super duper hot and gorgeous. So how are you doing here? Do you enjoy it? And then I know the answer to this, but is there a significant other in your life? And did she move with you? And where did she come into the story?
Yeah, so my girlfriend Kelly, she's here too. Not here, she's working.
Let's bring her up.
There she is. No, but we met during COVID, actually. We met. My roommate was dating her roommate, so that ended up working out. And
Did they get married too or no?
They did.
Wow.
They did.
Amazing.
Yeah, so...
has she ever seen you broadcast a game of two imaginary computer players playing each other?
No.
Keep it that way.
But she knows what I'm capable of. But
I would hope so. Is she a hockey fan at least?
Yeah, she is.
Definitely a Firebirds fan, I imagine.
Firebirds fan.
And generally an Evan fan.
I would hope, yeah.
Do you at nights, like, let's say off nights, or if there's a couple nights in a row before game, do you practice? Is there I'm in the shower and I'm,
No.
No. Do you ever watch boxing matches and think about how the boxing matches are commentated for the fighting fights?
No, I've thought of that though. I watched a couple like UFC fights. I'm not a huge UFC fan, but we watched it on the bus the other night on the way back, and I was like, these guys I like the way they call fights. And fights aren't as prominent as they used to be in hockey, so I don't have to do it as much. But it's nice to know some terminology every now and again. So, uppercut, right hook, jab.
It's the whole grab the jersey with one hand and just
feed them.
Yeah,
feed them punches.
feed more than you eat.
You gotta.
This is before your time, but for the rest of us in the room, there's this toy called Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you know it because you saw it on YouTube. The rest of us played with this, and the goal is to get close enough so that your guy punches their guy, but their guy can't punch your guy.
I had one of these, by the way.
You did?
Yes. I'm not like an iPad kid.
Does anybody believe that? No. Nobody believes you here that I'm not an iPad kid.
YouTube came out like in 2007.
I don't know. I'm so old, it's all a blur.
I was 13.
Tell me about your MySpace page.
It's great. I love changing the song all the time. I had a middle finger as my cursor.
Okay.
I thought I was cool at like 13 years
Did
old.
you have stickers on your laptop?
Yeah, I did. I don't know, like bands or something like that. So I was kind of a rock punk.
When you hear like a Spanish soccer announcer with the goal, do you ever think of doing something with like some flair? Maybe not goal like that, not copy it, but like, do you ever think of doing like a signature Evan like type of thing like that?
I'm not like a huge catchphrase guy. I have one thing I say is after we win in overtime, it's turn the record over, we'll see you on the flip side. It's the one thing I have. It's from a song by the Gaslight Anthem called 45, which is one of my favorite songs of all time.
Okay, so what the reference is there's these records, right? Before CDs and tapes, we had records. So,
Yes.
you know what
I'm familiar.
Okay, just making sure.
They have their hot topic.
You've never been to a warehouse.
I know what it is.
The warehouse, I got that. I'm with you, Matt. Hot top, I'm sorry. That was too much for me. I just came.
I did that just so you have that exact reaction.
You're a professional, so that's for sure. Okay, so then I have one other question. Again, like I said, I promise I'll let the people talk. Do the players ever talk to you about how you commentate about them, or do they ever have requests that you call someone call another player a name?
Yes. Guys are into it because guys' parents listen, and that's when I get the feedback. When we had Andrew Podorowski, last year we had Andrew Podorowski. He prominently scored in the power play where they didn't use strength, and I would talk about that. And he would be like, every time he didn't score, he'd score not on the power play, he'd let me know. So fast forward to this year, we saw him in San Jose. He plays for the Barracuda now. And I saw him, I caught up with him for a couple minutes, and as he was leaving, he goes, Piv, by the way, 2 power play goals this year. So he remembered that. So we always just joke about that.
They don't count unless you're on the Firebirds, dumbass.
I know. But
does anybody have a question for Evan? Go ahead, you can continue.
Some guys, they want to be. I like to get pronunciation right. That's my biggest thing because again, a lot of times, guys' parents and family listen to games, and I don't want to be a guy who messes up someone's last name. So a lot of times we have like a tricky last name. I'm like, how do you say it? However you say it is fine. That's not what I asked. They're like, oh, there's a couple different pronunciations, but you can do any of them. I'm like, what is your mom? How does your mom or dad pronounce your last name? And they say it, and that's how I do it. Because I want to get it right and respectful. Our goalie, one of our goalies this year, Nike Coco, his name is Nicholas Coco. He came to me and he said, I want to be called Nick at some point. I said, okay, I'll call you Nick. It's got to wait a little bit, though. You can't go right from Nicholas to Nick. He's a 20-year-old Finnish kid. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I can't just show up and be Nick. That's exactly how it works. So he wants to go by Nike this year. N-I-K-K-E. So that's what I've been...
As a fan, the two-syllable goalie name is the way to go.
Yeah.
You know, Joey, right? So, like, Nick.
Your last name's awesome. And I told him, like, dude, your last name is Coco.
Oh, Coco. That's fine.
You're fine.
I'm in love with the Coco.
So,
Okay, well, real quick, I have one more thing. I have a lot of Firebirds things.
That's fine.
I don't know if you've seen I wear a red jacket.
I've seen it.
All right.
I've seen it.
Country Road.
Yeah.
What are we doing with Country Road, and how do we stop it? It's a hot. Okay, hold on. For example, the goalie matchup goes up on the screen, and right on cue, Green Day, do you know your enemy? Right? Do you know your enemy? It's because we're talking about the enemy goalie. We're comparing goalies. How well do you know your enemy? It fits. Country Road, none of us want to go to West Virginia. None of us. I get it. They sing it like in Pittsburgh or Calgary or something, right? Yeah, California Love, Hotel California.
Californication.
How about it's getting hot in here? And anything hot, anything fire?
I am not in the game presentation.
I know, but I talked to Gina last time. She's not changing.
Can I get a fruit?
And again, I will say I'm not in the game presentation department.
Do you sing it on the television broadcast at
No,
all?
I don't. I don't.
What is your personal opinion of it? Do you have a personal opinion of it that I can cite in a future email? I'm just kidding.
It plays during games, and I hear it. That's my personal opinion of it.
I just feel like it's one of those things where sometimes the energy in the building is really going.
Yeah.
And it just
No, there
murders
are
it.
times where it hits perfectly, and it's great. I think it's great when fans can come together and have something that they all can sing along to. I think it helps build the energy in the building. It helps build the fan base. It's awesome when fans get up and.
But I heard you correctly. It doesn't have to be that song. You're just saying.
I didn't.
See, I'm with you. I'm with the camaraderie and the whole team building part of it. I just want to get a little.
Again, I'm not in the game presentation department.
Do you know people or not?
I know people.
Well, then team up with me here. We have Gina.
We do.
It's
You
not
can email
just
Gina.
me.
Email
I
Gina.
have emailed Gina. I'm like, damn, Gina.
You can copy me on it. That'll change.
I'll CC.
Yeah, CC.
Don't make me CC Evan. That's what I'll put on there.
Yeah.
All right. Does anybody else have a question? Go ahead. I don't think we need the mic.
How much do you think educating the fan base here on the rules of hockey, the history of hockey, is important as the play-by-play guy?
It's extremely important because we have so many new fans, and I've talked to a bunch of people already here today that weren't hockey fans until the Firebirds came into play. So and that was one of my things too when I got hired. I was like, this is a new hockey market. And I actually reached out to Pete Weber is his name. He is the voice of the Nashville Predators. And he was in a similar situation. He was the first ever voice of the team in Nashville. And I reached out to him, and it's like, how do I kind of navigate this without, coming from a hockey background, and I don't want to feel like I'm talking down to a fan who might not know what's going on. So I've tried to work in a way where I'm like, for our newer fans, this is how it is, or offside, and then I'll explain kind of what it is. Like offside, you enter the offensive zone before the puck came in. I try to make it kind of subtle for people learning. I don't want to kind of feel like, for those who don't know, the puck goes in the net and then it's like, so I've done work myself to try to make it as seamless as possible, where the people who watch hockey every day don't feel like they're being talked down to, and the people who are watching for the first time are not being talked down to. So it's been like a conscious effort for me, and I think they're for our whole organization too, because it's, you know, we have people in our organization who have never worked in sports before, never worked in hockey before. There's a few of us who have. So we're just very mindful of keeping everyone included in the same messaging of how does hockey work. Again, by keeping everyone kind of included. So we try to make it fun as best we can. We tried to film a video a couple seasons ago of one of our ticket salespeople like getting tripped by one of our players over and over again. But the idea was a lot funnier than the execution.
And the workman's comp claim.
Exactly. We're like, yeah, he's gonna like be out for a couple of days.
We're gonna do roughing next week. Oh,
Yeah.
no one wants to participate?
Exactly.
Aaron?
Okay, coming from Hockey Town family, Detroit, for those of you that are not aware. What would be your dream team? Not that we want to lose you, but if you were going to move up, what team would you want to go to?
I actually don't have an answer to that question.
Until you get there.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, even like as a young kid, I was always like, I want to be in the highest position I can be in the league, right? I want to be an NHL broadcaster. I want to do it for a team. I want to do it for, you know, for an organization that wants me. I think that would be the biggest key. Like New York area would be cool just because that's where I'm from and the family's there and whatnot. But you know, I keep myself kind of open for all that. I don't want to pigeonhole myself too.
Isn't it true as a professional you're like not rooting for the team though? Like you're supposed to stay.
You're supposed to say
Don't
somewhat
get too attached.
neutral, yeah. Like I obviously like I root for the Firebirds, but at the same time I can't. Not everything is gold. Sometimes like they do, right? Like if a guy takes a penalty, I'm like, that's not a penalty. Like that's not.
No, you're the announcer, not me.
No, yeah, I'm not banging on the glass. No, that's a terrible call. They're all terrible calls. Yeah, exactly. I can't.
It's my job. That's my role.
Yeah, we have to find the way to again educate people about why this is. I'll leave it up to Grant Fuhr a lot of times too. Grant Fuhr, Hall of Famer, 5-time Stanley Cup champion. He does the games with me at home. He can bash the refs all he wants because if the AHL wants to fine him, they could talk to Grant Fuhr.
You talk to his accountant.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Grant won't respond to that. And try following up. No, but it's so I try to stay as neutral as possible. And no, if someone on the other team makes a great play, I'm going to say it's a great play. Like I'm not going to take anything away from anyone because it's play like hockey players, exceptional athletes who do incredible things on ice, which is even more incredible. So I have to like give everyone good.
Can you skate?
No, not well.
Not at all?
Not well. No. I can't do what they do.
Okay.
I can like
I get that.
I can go to the iceplex and just like
No, hold on. This pack of people who I know nothing about their skating level with the exception of Sean a little bit, we're all going to just start going around the rink, right? Like a peloton or whatever, right? In a group. Are you in the front? Are you in the back? Like,
no, I'm probably in
Are you holding the wall?
I'm not No, I can get on there and just go around.
Can you hockey stop?
No. I tried once. Didn't go well.
See, I'll tell you what's crazy. I hockey stopped when I was a kid. I went skating at the burger complex with my daughters, and in my mind I was going to hockey stop at the door. And as I got ready to do it, I got really scared. I didn't do it, and I slammed like full speed two blades straight to the wall.
Yep. Yeah.
I made a big noise, embarrassed my kids.
Yeah, I was afraid of. It's like one of those like I'm afraid to fall. So
Yeah, I'm not the same. I mean, I'm the same height, but not the same age as I was back then.
Yeah, I never really. I tried taking skating lessons once, but just didn't.
Have you ever played with the Firebirds in the sense that you go on the ice with them, let them poke you around and give you a hard time? I just imagine that's what they would do.
I've gone on the ice in shoes and passed pucks around, like after practice or something like that. If I was bored, like on the road, done that a couple times. Like I could play from a standpoint if I didn't have to wear skates. I'm good. I'm just a player.
And I think you mentioned they call you Piv.
Piv, yeah.
That's the nickname.
Everyone in the hockey world, you get a nickname, and it's based on the first 3 letters of your last name, and that's like the full creativity point of it. It's either like they add a Y or an S, or they leave it chopped. So like, or they add an ER. So sometimes it's like Piver or Piv. It's never Pivsy or something. There's too many names. So like it's always just been Piv, and like there are times where guys like we got like a new player, and like I do a lot of stuff like to help them get kind of acclimated sometimes to the area, like with tickets and making sure there's even other is well taken care of at the rink and stuff. So there are guys that don't even know my name, they just know me as Piv. So I'll text them like, hi, this is Evan from Firebirds. I'm like, okay, and then I'll see them. I'm like, yeah, I texted you. Like, oh, your name's Evan.
So there's a bunch of us in this room that are season ticket holders and go to a lot of games, and we don't really get to experience the play-by-play because A, there's a pretty significant delay between the radio, if we want to listen to it, and the reality of the game. Sometimes I'll even like throw an AirPod to hear what happened like from a minute ago, you know. But it'd be really helpful if I know like at the Indian Wells Tennis Gardens we have those little like in-house little earpieces.
Yeah.
Is there a way we could get some sort of either like on the spot type of radio station?
Well, I'm glad that people are asking questions about this, so now that I can go up and be like, people are asking for this, not just me. My bad. Yeah. I know people want to listen to me more in the arena. No, so we have explored that, and I would like to explore it more.
A lot of us just don't know what's going on
Exactly.
so fast, and it's not on the board. They don't tell us what the penalties are. Like,
Yeah.
Like, you don't know the hand gesture or the leg?
Yeah.
Or we won't see it, even if we.
No, I totally agree. I think in the future, I hope we go that route in terms of getting people access. And again, I think the more people who ask for it that are not named Evan Pivnick, I think are the better chance that it's going to happen. But yeah, we've looked into it before, and I hope we look into it during games.
If you help me with Country Road, I'll get him to email you.
So, Piv, was just curious about.
Are we live streaming?
Oh, we are. We are doing a little live streaming just to make sure we have all the facts.
What is this question going to be?
I know, it's coming. So, I want to know, do you feel that of all the Firebirds, is there a better chirper? Is there somebody that is the best chirper? And what is the best chirp you've heard from a Firebird player?
Ooh, so for those, in the hockey world, guys, all they do is chirp at each other, so they make fun of guys and all that fun stuff. So Max McCormick is going to want to think that he's the answer to this question. He's not.
I love it.
It's pretty good. I'm not going to give him that. We had Cole Lind the last couple of years, and he got under a lot of guys'
A
skin.
proverbial younger brother.
Yeah, and he was really good at it. There are a lot of guys who just like a lot of our like bigger tough guys will say a couple of things more. I got Max McCormick the other day, or yesterday actually, got him pretty good, and got some laughs out of some other guys, and he wasn't happy about it. I can tell a story. So we're flying back yesterday, so we played in Abbotsford this weekend, won both games. Go Firebirds. So we flew out of Seattle, so we drove to Seattle from Abbotsford Saturday night, flew out yesterday, and I don't do the travel for the team. I don't make where people sit. I don't do anything like that. And Max McCormick, our captain, had a middle seat. And I did not have a middle seat. So Max looks behind me, sees me that I'm in an aisle seat. Says like something along the lines of like, you better watch yourself. So I said, all right, ask the guy in the aisle to move and come find me. So I got him there. But yeah, like it's all in good fun, I think too, from that point, like I feel like I hope people like the guys would talk to me like that if they didn't like somewhat like me. So or at least they might mean it more for next time.
Absolutely. Men, I think I saw something recently, like men give compliments through insults. I think that's definitely the truth.
Yeah. So I'll give it to Max just to make him start.
If you had, before I give Craig a follow-up, if you had to fight every member of the Firebirds team, one at a time, but I let you say one guy you can remove because he's like too much sauce. Is it McKinnon? Like he's not really playing, or is it?
He's been playing.
He's been playing. That's true. Is it him?
Yeah, probably him.
He's a tough guy.
Probably him. He's one of those guys. He's a great guy off the ice, but once like he's in a situation where like he needs to enjoy himself, like He likes it.
Yeah, he enjoys that.
Yeah, he likes it. So,
All right, Craig, follow up. It's all yours.
So we mentioned fighting, and it's interesting. I've seen a few games, been there, filmed a few. Some games are very aggressive, and there's a lot of fighting. And then some games there's literally none. So I've kind of heard that sometimes the coaches, don't know if this is true, but they actually kind of agree together to create some lesser atmosphere or less fighting atmosphere just because maybe the magnitude of that game or its playoffs.
I don't know how much the coaches go into it, but I know in the playoffs there's a lot less fighting because you don't want to get your team shorthanded. You don't want to take a dumb penalty because you tried going after one guy and the other guy wouldn't respond to it, and it's just kind of situational awareness. I do think the more we play teams over and over again, I think our schedule has a lot to do with the animosity between the teams. Playing in our division, we only see the same teams over and over again, which leads to more rivalries and more hatred between the two teams. Every time us and Calgary go together, there's a lot of it. In Ontario, there's a ton of it.
I recognize some of the guys in the other teams.
Exactly.
That's really bad.
Exactly. So I think the more we play other teams, and I think guys, they're pro hockey players. They're smart enough to know, hopefully smart enough to know when to fight another guy, when to not fight another guy, when to do this, when to do that. So I don't know how the coaches. I don't think the coaches have a lot to do with it. I think it's the guys who play the roles of being the enforcers and being kind of the sheriffs on the ice to figure out when's the right time to do what they have to do.
Thank you.
All right, Tom, you're the last question here.
Oh, shoot.
Lots of questions. Lots of questions. Lots of questions.
Whatever, I'm going to ask the one ahead. Between your conversational voice and your broadcast voice, there is kind of a difference. I'm just curious how conscious that is and what you would say makes a good, broadcast voice.
So my broadcast voice is my normal voice just turned up a little bit more. I think it's just different. I put a headset on and it sounds different. I just get kind of into the mode of I'll try to do it here. So it's just my speaking voice, but turned up a little bit like this. Firebirds hockey on 106.9 The Eagle, the AHL TV on Flow Hockey, that sort of thing. So it's kind of just me. I'm not a loud person. I speak pretty quietly, and people are like, "Why do you talk so quietly?" I talk for a living. I'm like, yeah, I don't scream. No, but you're getting your broadcast voice. It took something a while. My voice was even in the ECHL for a couple of years. I didn't know how to properly control my voice. Where I would my voice would crack all the time. And there was one time we won in overtime in the ECHL, and my voice cracked in the overtime goal. And it was bad. And I did not live that down for quite a long time. But knock on wood, it doesn't happen again. It probably will this weekend. But I think just knowing the limits of it and doing it over and over again, I think that helps the repetition of it. I'm not a honey with tea guy. Grant.
He's what, 20, how old again? 30? Yeah, you're not doing that.
So Grant Fear, his thing last year, he needed to have a milkshake before every game. So he got me too. Yeah, he got Mr. Song. So he'd bring me one, and I noticed I would get too cold, and I would start my nose would stuff up, and I'd sound a little higher like this because I couldn't breathe. So I was like, Grant, I can't do this milkshake. One, I shouldn't be doing this milkshake thing anymore. And two, I definitely can't do it because it makes my voice too high. So I was conscious of that. And I talked about earlier about how when I first started broadcasting, I had a pretty thick Long Island accent. And this goes back to working for a specific team. I knew that being a New Yorker with a New York accent is going to eliminate me from a lot of jobs. So I made a really conscious effort when I was in college, because that was the first time I was really going to school in the Midwest, in Northwest Ohio, and saying coffee and bagels and bulldog and all that stuff. People look at you like you're an idiot. So I would be talking to these people and like, how'd you say that? I'm what do you mean? Everyone talks like that. And that's the first time I learned my accent was different. So I wrote down all the words that I said differently, and I basically fixed it so you can't really tell where I'm from now.
Soon we're gonna have him slip in dude every once in a while just to really make sure.
Dude, bro.
Dude, bro.
Yeah, but
all right. Well, on that note, it gives me a chance to use Bond Radio Lewis. All right, thanks for coming, everybody. No, we do have to wrap it up. I do want to say I really appreciate you sharing your story and your time with us today. I think it's a great story. I hope some of the kids in the Valley have an opportunity to hear it because I think there's definitely something to be said for people who have like a very unique, focused goal, and the fact that you were able to like make it happen successfully.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
Woo! Woo!
I don't really love talking about myself, but it's fun to do it. And also, I think now is a really special time in like the world of technology and media for people to be able to kind of do what they really want to do. I think there's more avenues for it now. I think just with the internet and just what that provides. I know Tom and Heather do a bunch of stuff on YouTube, and that's what's doing. There's a community for everything now, which I grew up a little before that, but I think now it's like you see people they make a living online, and it's great. And people can do so much more, and there's so much of the world to see just from logging onto your computer. So yeah, let your kids go on. Let your kids go to every website.
I had this idea earlier. I know we're on time, so I'm going to wrap this real quick. I want to talk this. Do you play the NHL PlayStation 5 game?
Yeah.
All right. I think maybe we should have you and I each try to raise some money, and we'll go head to head. And if I win, the money goes to Leadership Coachella Valley, and if you win, the money will go to One Future. One Valley.
So you want to play me in NHL 25?
Yeah. Well, teams that are like evenly powered, right? So like,
I'll buy a ticket.
This is my idea.
Play me one of the teams that are evenly balanced.
Well, no, I mean, I can take the best team and give you some crappy team. I don't think that's what you want to do. Do you think I'd be doing this if I didn't? I don't know. You might be looking at the 1990 before you were alive. 16 and under Nintendo Power Southern California champion. Which doesn't mean anything to you to how you play at the time.
Can I announce?
Games are also high definition these days. Too.
I think that's a yes. I think that's a yes. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I would like to do the play-by-play. I want to do the play-by-play. I'm doing the play-by-play. Woo!
Yes, only one meeting. Okay.
You broke the mic.
Thank you guys for joining us again. Let's give Evan and Amira a round of applause. And before we leave, I want to make sure to thank Leadership Coachella Valley for putting this on, and also our friend Craige Campbell with CoachellaValley.com.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate you.
And as I said, we'll have some upcoming events coming in the new year. Please be on the lookout for emails. And if you're interested in Leadership Coachella Valley, or if you're interested in suggesting a speaker, just shoot us an email. We'd love to get some other speakers going here. But thank you very much. You have a great day.
Okay, guys. Thank you for watching. This is Craige Campbell for CoachellaValley.com.
Go back to work.
You're now in charge.